All right, so Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, was just forced out of office by a parliamentary vote of no confidence that came after a pretty wild constitutional showdown, as well as accusations that were made by Imran Khan himself of a US-backed regime change operation. So we're going to get into a lot of the details here, but this is obviously an ongoing chaotic situation, to say the least. But I figured it would be worth it to do a breakdown in terms of what we know right now, because this is obviously going to have massive implications, not just for Pakistan and their political situation, but also for the entire world, as Pakistan is a large country with a sizable population and economy. They also happen to have some nukes laying around, and they're a very important player and have been, especially in modern history, as a geopolitical figure in especially US-led involvement in the Middle East. So let's go ahead and get into some of the details here from Al Jazeera. They say PM Khan gone, Pakistan's political crisis explained in 400 words, and they say Khan became the first prime minister in Pakistan's history to be sent packing through a vote of no confidence. So importantly, not the first Pakistani prime minister to be forced out of office before his term, just the first one to be forced out of office in this specific way through a vote of no confidence in the parliament. Now, not only is he not the first Pakistani prime minister to be forced out of office prematurely, but there has literally never been, in the entire modern history of Pakistan since 1947 when the state was founded, there has never been a single prime minister of Pakistan that has successfully made it through their entire 5-year term. So not something that's too historically unusual here in Pakistan, but unusual in the very specific way that they went about doing it this time. Usually, historically, it has been done disproportionately via like military takeovers of the country, and the military still does play a massive, significant role in the political situation of what is happening in the government of Pakistan. So a little bit of details here. They say Imran Khan's term as Prime Minister of Pakistan ended on Sunday following days of a constitutional chaos that left him with no choice but to resign or be voted out of office. And they say the Pakistani parliament's lower house will meet on Monday to vote for a new acting Prime Minister. They already successfully voted on a new Prime Minister, and we're going to get to who exactly that is here in a minute. But they say this is the first time a no confidence motion against a Prime Minister of Pakistan has been successful. And they say, how was Khan disposed by a no confidence vote? So this was the weird back and forth, constitutional showdown that essentially happened over the last week or so. They say Khan was voted out in Parliament days after he blocked a similar attempt. The no confidence motion, which required 172 votes in the 342-seat Parliament to pass, was supported by 174 parliamentarians. So a very close margin here of literally just less than a handful of votes that successfully allowed this no confidence motion to go through. And they say the passing of the motion came after the country's Supreme Court ruled that Khan, who came to power in 2018, acted unconstitutionally in previously blocking the process and dissolving Parliament. And in a landmark verdict late on Thursday, the court restored the House that was dissolved by President Arif Alvi on Khan's recommendation, and Khan has alleged the opposition colluded with the United States to unseat him and called on his supporters to stage nationwide rallies on Sunday, and we're going to get to some of the details on all of this. But they say since independence in 1947, again, no Pakistani prime minister has completed a 5-year term in office in the country. So again, what they're talking about here, this constitutional showdown, so essentially he saw this coming on the horizon, this attempted no confidence vote, and he tried to dissolve Parliament under the guise of a US-backed regime change operation, or that's what he was stating was part of the main reason. And so he tries to dissolve Parliament, then it goes up to the Supreme Court, and they end up ruling that no, you can't just dissolve Parliament, and they will be able to go through with this no confidence vote. And then the no confidence vote obviously succeeded on very thin margins, but again, you can see here no Pakistani prime minister in history has ever completed their 5-year term. Just a pretty wild, unstable political situation that has been going on for decades there, but largely a lot of that has been due to Western and U.S. involvement in Pakistan, but that's not to say that this specific situation is 100% due to U.S. involvement or anything like that. A lot of this we're not going to be able to know for maybe even years down the line unless we get some sort of a leak from a company like WikiLeaks that is going to give us an idea deeper into the degree to which the U.S. was involved in this, but we're going to get to some of that here in a second. They say what led to leader Khan's downfall. So Khan's political demise was rooted in twin new realities. personalities inside parliament. His Pakistani Tehreek-e-Insaf party, the PTI party, sorry if I'm butchering that name, had lost the support of coalition allies, denying him the majority that he needed to defeat the vote of no confidence. So it seems like he had some parliamentary allies that turned on him and voted in favor of this no confidence vote. But they say outside of parliament, Khan appeared to lose the support of Pakistan's powerful military, which the opposition alleged helped him win the 2018 general election. And they had recently publicly fallen out over senior military appointments and policy decisions. And in recent weeks, as the principal opposition parties, the Pakistan People's Party, the PPP, and the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, the PMLN, ramped up their efforts to dislodge Khan, coalition allies became vocal in their dissatisfaction with him. And meanwhile, a deepening economic crisis contributed to dissatisfaction with Khan and double-digit inflation dogging much of his term. So listen, as of what I know about the differences between a lot of these parties, at least in the historic modern political incarnation within Pakistan, is that both of these parties, both of these potential prime ministers, even the new one that has just been elected, they all have problems with corruption. It's a pretty corrupt country, at least has been, and this is not going to be a situation where some new government is taking power and is going to radically change the makeup of the Pakistani economy or political structure in a way that's going to seriously benefit average working class Pakistani people. It just doesn't seem like that's going to be the case one way or another, whoever ends up in power. But they continue here with a little bit more details, saying who will be Pakistan's next prime minister, and his name is Shehbaz Sharif, the younger brother of three-time Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, and he is widely expected to replace Khan. He has already been confirmed and voted in by the parliament as of today, and they say the 70-year-old is little known outside his country, but has a reputation domestically as an effective administrator more than as a politician. And in an interview last week, he said good relations with the United States were critical for Pakistan, for better or for worse, in stark contrast to Khan's recently antagonistic relationship with Washington. So this kind of feeds into a little bit of the narratives and reasons why some people are saying that the U.S. had some degree of involvement in this process, is because, yes, Imran Khan has come out and made some decisions recently and statements recently that have been nominally against the United States, at least our foreign policy agenda, that has honestly destroyed Pakistan in many different ways, and they would be justified in not wanting to be tied to the United States, especially after our complete clusterfuck of a war on terror in Afghanistan, which Pakistan also played a significant role in. But just a little bit of details on the specific accusations that Imran Khan is making here. So they say over the weekend, Pakistani parliament ousted Prime Minister Imran Khan from power with a no confidence motion, and the move came despite Khan attempting to leverage the new tension between the U.S. and Russia to preserve his power. He had alleged that his opponents are pawns in a U.S.-led conspiracy to oust him from power for not sufficiently supporting U.S. foreign policy aims, and at the center of Khan's claims is a private exchange that allegedly took place between high-level Pakistani and U.S. officials, in which the latter expressed displeasure over Khan's recent foreign policy moves, and according to Khan, a letter penned by the Pakistani official following the exchange provided definitive proof of U.S. meddling in the country's domestic politics. So this letter that apparently is in question, I don't think we've gotten an actual full layout of everything that the letter says, or if the letter necessarily even exists as he is portraying it to exist. So if that does exist, I would love to see it. If you guys know where there are any sources we could possibly get that on, I have not been able to find it. So as of right now, he's making these allegations, and I haven't seen any direct evidence of U.S. involvement. Now, does that mean that there was no U.S. involvement? Does that mean that the U.S. has our hands clean in this entire situation? No, not necessarily. I'm just saying we don't necessarily know as of right now, given the evidence that we have at our disposal, one way or another. But again, with things like this, with regime change operations, when the U.S. has historically been involved in these types of things, typically you won't know until maybe even years or even decades down the line the degree to which the U.S. was involved. So, probably a lot of this is going to be in a gray area for a while here, but as of right now, I haven't seen any direct evidence coming from Imran Khan in terms of backing up this accusation of direct U.S. involvement in trying to instigate this vote of no confidence or trying to help it succeed. But again, my mind is completely open to that. I would absolutely not be surprised if the U.S. was involved in a regime change operation pretty much anywhere on the face of the planet, given our historical track record. Also, there's a little bit of context here that's kind of important. So Recently, after Russia invaded Ukraine, Imran Khan went to visit Putin, and Pakistan then decided to import more wheat and gas from Russia, trying to, not only form closer ties with Russia, but also in a rebuke to the United States foreign policy agenda. And also we had this, Pakistan can never again be a U.S. partner in war. So he was railing against the ways that the United States fucked with Pakistan, essentially, over the course of our war on terror, especially as it relates to Afghanistan, which shares a massive border with Pakistan. And so, basically critiquing a little bit of U.S. foreign policy. Now, this doesn't mean that he's like a principled anti-imperialist, okay? If you go and look at this guy's track record, he's not a leftist, he's not an anti-imperialist in any principled way. It seems more so like he's just leveraging anti-American sentiment to his benefit in this specific circumstance. And again, it is somewhat justified, because if you live in Pakistan and you have experienced the disastrous consequences of U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, then yeah, you would probably have a lot of anti-American sentiments that would somewhat be justified, but again, not really a principled leftist or anti-imperialist in the purest sense of the word. But we also had this as a pretty important part of how this has been playing out. This just came out today, just literally a couple hours ago. Imran Khan lawmakers, so lawmakers from his parties, quit in mass as Pakistan parliament elects Sharif PM. So basically in protest, a bunch of them, I think it was over 100 of them. So yeah, more than 100 lawmakers loyal to Pakistan's ousted Prime Minister Imran Khan resigned on Monday, creating a headache for the new Western-friendly incumbent, Shehbaz Sharif, as he tries to drag his country out of political and economic crisis. And they say if the resignations are accepted by the speaker, Pakistan faces a prospect of more than 100 by-elections within 2 months, a major distraction for Sharif and his coalition partners, and a potential platform for Khan to mobilize his support. So it's going to be interesting how this specifically plays out. Could have, a bunch of elections that are coming up, and I think the official next elections for the prime minister position are going to be taking place in August of 2023, if I got that right. But again, you see basically this massive showdown that's forming here, because Imran Khan is not backing down. He's not backing down off of the accusations of U.S. involvement in this vote of no confidence, and he's also not backing down in the sense that he's been openly calling for his supporters to take to the streets and mobilize and forcefully try to oppose what he perceives to be, or may actually be, depending on the evidence that we get in the future, a U.S.-led regime change operation. So here's what he had to say. He said, on Wednesday, I will be joining a Jalsa, which is essentially, I guess, a protest in Peshawar after Isha, and my first Jalsa after being removed through a foreign instigated regime change. I want all our people to come, as Pakistan was created as an independent sovereign state, not as a puppet state of foreign powers. And he says, we are demanding immediate elections, as that is the only way forward, to let the people decide through fair and free elections whom they want as their prime minister. So I mean, listen, if that's all he's calling for is a new round of elections, then, and they are actually free and fair, I wouldn't see any problem with that. But that's pretty much what he's saying here, still sticking with the line of this new elected prime minister, Sharif, essentially being a U.S. puppet. But he has had many supporters that have come out to his aid and showed up in the streets to basically protest alongside of him and against this, again, what he perceives to be a U.S.-led coup against his government. But he posted a couple videos here, or just one. I just wanted to show you a little bit of what it's looking like on the ground there. All right, so yeah, you guys get the point. So there have been lots and lots of people who have showed up in the streets to protest. It seems like he does have a pretty substantial base of support in this entire situation. But, at the end of the day, again, we're likely not going to know a lot of the details unless Imran Khan is going to come out and give them to us, or if he, is going to release the full letter that he's talking about in question here, or release actual hard evidence of U.S. involvement. It's going to be, probably taking a while for us to figure out, again, the extent to which, if there was any, of U.S. involvement in this regime change operation, or in this vote of no confidence, depending on how you want to characterize it. But I can't give you guys a firm answer right now, so I'm not going to pretend as if I know for a fact that this was a CIA plot to overthrow him. And I'm also not going to completely take out U.S. involvement out of the picture, because it just seems like we don't really know firmly one way or another here. But at the end of the day, all you should care about is average people within Pakistan, and it seems like this is going to be a pretty chaotic couple of years or months ahead of them as they try to sort out this massive constitutional crisis that has just happened and is now unfolding in front of them. So, you feel for average people who are going to get caught up in this massive back and forth that's going to be taking place. But I'll try to keep you guys updated and give you more information as we learn more about what the fuck is happening over in Pakistan.